All right, let's dive into one of the most radical arguments in all of literature. The idea that a nearly forgotten Charles Dickens novel isn't just one of his best, but that it's his single greatest achievement. I mean, think about it for a second. When you think Dickens, your mind probably jumps to A Christmas Carol, maybe Oliver Twist or Great Expectations. But what if we told you his true masterpiece is a book that most people skip right over? Well, that's exactly the claim that a hugely important critic named F.R. Leavis made back in the 1940s. He surveyed all of Dickens's famous, sprawling novels, and he pointed straight at Hard Times and said, that one, that's the one. So the question is, what on earth did he see that everybody else was missing? And this quote right here is the heart of it. Leavis wasn't just saying he liked it. He argued that Hard Times is different. It's not a sprawling epic, it's a laser-focused, powerful story. He called it a completely serious work of art, basically a moral fable for the modern world. Okay, so to get what Leavis is talking about, you have to understand the main villain of the book. And, it's not some mustache-twirling bad guy, it's an idea. It's the tyranny of what Dickens just calls fact. The official name for this philosophy is utilitarianism. And in the world of Hard Times, it's this brutal mindset that says if you can't measure it, it doesn't matter. Imagination, worthless. Love, a distraction. Compassion, inefficient. All that counts are cold, hard facts and what's in it for you. And Dickens sets up this epic battle between two opposing worlds. On one side, you've got the world of fact, run by Thomas Gradgrind in his bleak industrial Coketown. It's all about calculation. And on the other side, the world of fancy, represented by a young circus girl named Sissy Jupe, who stands for everything that can't be put in a spreadsheet: humanity, kindness, and just life itself. And you see this philosophy at work right from the get-go. Gradgrind hears her nickname Sissy and immediately shuts it down. Why? Because a nickname is personal, it's informal, it's a sign of affection. It's not a proper factual label. So Cecilia, it must be. The system's first victim is always individuality. Then we get to this incredible, famous scene. Gradgrind puts Sissy on the spot. Now remember, this is a girl who grew up in a circus, literally around horses her entire life. She knows them. And he asks her to define a horse. Of course, she can't, because her knowledge isn't from a book. It's from life, from experience. And in this classroom, that's worth nothing. And that's when the model student, Bitzer, chimes in. He's probably never even petted a horse, but he can rattle off the dictionary definition perfectly. A list of dry biological facts. And that's the gut punch. In this twisted system, Bitzer is the one who knows what a horse is, while Sissy, the girl from the horse riding, is ignorant. The irony is just staggering. But Dickens doesn't just show us what's wrong. He shows us the alternative. He shows us the rebellion. So if the world of fact is this cold, gray machine, where do you find the warmth? Where do you find the humanity? Well, you go to the circus. Sissy really is the beating heart of this entire novel. She is the living, breathing antidote to everything Gradgrind stands for. She's compassionate, she's full of life, and she acts from her heart, not from a textbook. She represents what Leavis called impulsive life, all the good stuff that just bubbles up from within us. And she comes from this community of circus folk. Now, these aren't scholars or businessmen, but they have this incredible grace and skill, and more importantly, this deep, unshakable kindness. They're always ready to help each other. Their value can't be measured in dollars and cents, and that's exactly what makes them so powerful in the story. So, you've got this cold system of fact on one side, and this warm rebellion of fancy on the other. The real drama of the book is watching what happens when that rigid, brittle system of fact finally smacks into real life and just completely shatters. And where does it all fall apart most horribly? Right in Gradgrind's own family. He raised his kids, Louisa and Tom, to be the perfect products of his system. No stories, no emotions, no imagination. And the result? Well, it's an absolute train wreck. This scene, it's just bone-chilling. Louisa has been emotionally starved her whole life, and now she's been proposed to by this awful, much older man, Mr. Bounderby. She's lost, so she goes to her father and asks this simple, achingly human question, basically begging for some kind of guidance. And just look at his answer. He can't even compute the word love. To him, it's just a silly, sentimental idea. He tells her to look at the tangible facts, the numbers, the statistics of the marriage proposal. He completely and totally fails her as a father, because his entire philosophy has no room for what she's feeling. And here's where it all leads. Years later, trapped in a miserable marriage, she's tempted to have an affair. She runs back to her father's house, collapses at his feet, and just lays it all out. Your philosophy and your teaching will not save me. It is the ultimate rejection of his entire life's work. His system gave her facts, but it gave her no moral compass, no strength, nothing to hold on to.
But if you want to see the truly terrifying end result of this teaching, you have to look at Bitzer, the star pupil. See, Gradgrind's son, Tom, commits a crime. And who catches him? Bitzer. When Gradgrind begs him for mercy, for old time's sake, Bitzer just lays out the cold, perfect logic he was taught. Society is about self-interest. My self-interest is served by turning Tom in. Gratitude, compassion, those aren't facts. They don't compute. His logic is flawless, and it's absolutely monstrous.
So, after all that darkness, why did Leavis call this a masterpiece? It's not because it's a perfect, realistic novel. It's because it's something else entirely, something more powerful. Leavis's big point was this: stop worrying about whether this circus is realistic or not. That's missing the point. Hard Times works like a poem or like a fable. It uses these big, powerful symbols, the factory, the school, the circus, to make a really profound point about society with incredible, concentrated force. And look, Leavis wasn't some blind fanboy. He saw the book's flaws. He openly admitted that the character of the working man, Stephen Blackpool, is way too sentimental, and that Dickens's take on trade unions is pretty simplistic. But for Leavis, those weaknesses didn't matter as much as the book's central, brilliant achievement. Because in the end, the story's great truth doesn't come from a professor or a politician. It comes from Mr. Sleary, the lisping, humble ringmaster of the circus. And he just says it plain: there's more to life than self-interest. There is love, and that's a force all on its own. And that really brings us to a huge question for our own time, doesn't it? We live in a world that is obsessed with data, with analytics, with efficiency. So Leavis's argument for Hard Times really makes you stop and ask, in our quest to measure everything, what are the crucial human things we're forgetting? What are the things that really matter, that can't ever be logged in a spreadsheet?